It's Saturday, which means it's Table Talk Day. It's been a busy old week. I've got lots to talk about, so let's not waste any more time and get stuck into it. Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and welcome to this week's Table Talk. If you're one of my new subscribers, a big welcome to the channel. What we do in Table Talk is we talk about what happened in the week that's just gone, what's been happening on the modelling bench and what's coming up next week, and then we chuck in one or two other things as well. So if you want to know what's coming up in the channel, this is the place to be. So you won't see me doing any model building here, but we talk quite a bit about models. It's sort of my thing. So the winter season is definitely kicking off for modelers. How do I know? I'm starting to see a rise in views, which means that there is people who have stopped doing their summer activities. They're not going out with their family. They're now sitting inside, hunkering down, getting to the modelling bench, and that's all good for me in the channel. So we've got more subscribers this week and we've got more views. So that's really pleasing to me. Now, some of those views have come in because of this little bad boy here, the new Airfix Ferret. We'll talk more about that later on. And as you can see, we've got some other things to talk about. And then I've got some other bits coming up that we haven't talked about before that are basically quick change of plan. So let's start with a massive thank you to everyone for subscribing. And those of you who've been subscribing and follow this regularly, you know what's coming up. Massive thank you to you all. I enjoy doing this because of you guys. It's a real pleasure, and I love talking to you, the comments that I get, and so on. So, what happened last week? Well, let's start with the Monday video. So the Monday video was knife craft, and it was one of my introducing basics videos, and I think what you do with a knife and how you manage a knife is something that's not widely talked about. It's a sort of a given. Yeah, you get a knife and you do this with a knife, and no one really talks about it. So I thought, for those people new to the hobby particularly, some of the things that you can do with a knife and how to go about it was quite important. And I got a better response to that video than I was perhaps expecting. With things like the basics videos, for many people that follow this channel, that subscribe to the channel, it's stuff that they already know, and therefore it's not of interest, or it's stuff they think they know and therefore it's not of interest. And everyone comes to the channel for different reasons. Some people love the first impressions, some people love the builds, some people are interested if it's planes, some people are only interested if it's ships. I get all of that. We try and cover a range of different stuff, have quite an eclectic mix on the channel, and that's purposely thought through so that I'm doing stuff for everyone, and people have got stuff of interest frequently. So with the basics videos, I expect that the view count will build up over time when people search for, how do I do this with a knife? And then that might come up. That's the basic idea. But obviously the subscribers often are the first people to see it because it comes up on their notifications. And I had some really nice comments, one or two people who said, actually, I'd not thought about that, or someone said, well, why don't you just make a jig? Yeah, you can make a jig. What I'm trying to do is show people basic skills. So if you've not got a jig, or you've not got the materials to make a jig, or you're brand new to the hobby, especially if you're a youngster and you're on a real tight budget, being able to understand what those basic skills are and what you can do without having tools and jigs and that sort of stuff, it's a good place to start, I think. It's where most of us started, in fairness, unless you were borrowing the tools of someone else, but I didn't. My dad made models before I was born, and he didn't make models after I was born. He built my first kit with me, and then I was left to it. So everything that I've learned, I've developed or learned off my own back, not by being shown by another modeler, and I certainly didn't have tools that I could borrow. So I think they're good basic skills to learn, and they can often get you out of a bind. So I was really pleased with the response to that. Now, someone asked the question, sorry, I forget your name, but they said it would be really interesting to understand what the wide variety of blades are. And that's a really good point. So I am going to do a video about all the different blades. So when you buy one of these X-Acto sets, I bought one when I was 15, and it had like a junior hacksaw in it, had a plane in it, had a sanding block with some sanding paper, and it had all of these. It had 3 different knife handles and all of these different things, punches and different blades, and I had no idea what they were for. And some of them I didn't know what they were for many years. And now, of course, know what all of them are for. And so I think, yeah, it's a good thing to do. So we're going to do a little video on all the different knife blade shapes and what you're supposed to use them for. So what is that hooked blade for? Well, I can tell you, and we'll do that. So I'm not sure when I'll do it. I'll probably try and do it this weekend, and then we'll chuck it out somewhere. But it's that sort of feedback that I like. If you ever think of something you'd like me to show on the channel or talk about, then we can certainly do that if I feel that I have enough knowledge to talk about it. What I won't do is talk about things that I don't know. I sometimes see videos where someone's trying to, maybe they've seen it somewhere or they've seen someone else do it, and they're trying to come across as professional or knowledgeable on their videos, and it just becomes an awkward video. So if I don't know something, I'm big enough and old enough now to say, haven't got a clue. I don't have to be an expert at everything. I just have to be able to be honest with you guys and say, this is how I do it, this is what I know, and this is what I don't know. Fair enough. I do like to try and keep it as it is. At the end of the day, this channel's more about me working through my stash and sharing my real enjoyment of this hobby than anything else. I do it in a tutorial style for others who might want to pick up something, but I've never said I'm an expert and this is the way to do it, and I never will. Anyway, less of that. That was Monday. Monday went really well. Then Wednesday we had First Impressions HMS Victory Part 1, which basically was box contents and instructions. Now, I know a lot about HMS Victory, and I know a lot about the kit, so I probably waffled on a little bit more than I normally do in a First Impressions, which is why overall we've got 2 hours of kit review, including part 2 that went out on the Thursday. But I wanted to do it justice, and I wanted to talk about it, and I was able to talk about the different kits. So if you've got a red box one, you've got something slightly different to what I've got when it comes to the shrouds, for example, and the rigging and those sort of bits. So I thought it was important to do that, and also important to say, look out for this is incorrect, this needs changing. That it's an old kit, and we've learned a lot more about HMS Victory in my lifetime than we knew when that kit came out before my lifetime. So a lot of people sharing their love of that kit. Built it as a kid, really enjoyed it, had it on my shelf for many years. People saying, I built it like you, just the plastic parts. It was less challenging as a kid to do that. So I am going to revisit that at some point. Don't ask me when, but maybe when we've got Scharnhorst out of the way, it's time to do a tall ship. So we've got a number of options. We've got the Golden Hind, we've got HMS Victory. Now we've got the Hella Solarial. So we've got options there, but it might be a nice change of pace from a ship point of view, and then we perhaps focus on a smaller 1 to 350 scale ship. Anyway, we'll talk more about ships in a minute. So yeah, there was a lot of love for the HMS Victory videos, and it was a nice kit to review. I felt really lucky with the quality of that kit when I got hold of it. Rigging threads were missing, but so what? I probably got my rigging threads from my original build when I was a teenager, because I don't really throw that sort of stuff away. So yeah, a nice couple of videos, and we're still not done with HMS Victory, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then that gets us to Friday, which is today. So for those of you who don't know, I record this on Friday before I start work, and then finish it in my when I finish work or in my lunch break, to fit in around work. So it all depends. Tonight you'll be seeing the next part of the Gotha build, which gets you up to where I was until this week, and we'll talk more about that in a minute too. See, I told you there's lots to talk about. Really chugging along with that now. There's a period when we go wings. We're painting the wings, we're putting the decals on the wings, we're putting the engines on the wings, we're putting the struts on the wings, we're putting the bolts in the wings, we're putting the rigging on the wings. Just wings. And for ages it feels like you're not getting anywhere because you're just looking at these two massive slabs of wings. So it's really nice to be able to say, right, and now we've moved on. And in my world, we are nearly done. I've got propellers to paint. I've got whatsits to rig. What's that? The floats to rig and install the fuselage. And that's all that's left to do. And then I think you put a gun in. So I am hopeful that I'll get it done this weekend. We'll have a look at it in a minute. So yeah, that was this week, except for the extra video, which was this. The Armour Hobby Hurricane Mark II, which also came out on Wednesday evening. Now, it landed with me on the Wednesday. I've not had an Armour Hobby kit before, so I wanted to have a good nosy round. So as I'm having a good nosy round, seems like a good idea to film it. And as I'm filming it, and I'm one of the first people in the country to get it, because I pre-ordered it directly from Armour Hobby, and so I got it when shops would be starting to get it. And if you go on ScaleMates, the marketplace bit, they're all showing it as pre-order. I went on a couple of the UK online stores, still showing it as pre-order. So I thought, well, I've recorded it. It doesn't need much in the way of editing. It just needs stitching together and put an intro and an outro on. Why don't I just chuck it out and be amongst the first to get it out there? So lots of people know this kit because it's based on the Night Fighter one that came out earlier. So it is a new tool for this year, but this one's just a decal change. So although I'm first out for this kit, I'm not really first out for that. But it has got some interest. And we did that first impressions as a premiere, and I don't do that very often with first impressions. Sometimes do them live, but not often as a premiere. But people really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was a good. It's a lovely kit. It is a lovely kit. One or two little minor issues with the instructions, but if you've not seen the video, go and check that out and get an understanding of what it is. If you love your Edward model kits, you'll love that. And obviously that was one of my stash ads this week, but I'd pre-ordered it as a bundle. So if you go onto the Armour Hobbies website, they do all these bundles and you get a little bit of a discount. So I ordered this in a bundle with this. So both the kits came at the same time. So this is the PZL, it's the Polish aircraft. And I think I said last week, I had a book as a kid, The Illustrated History of World War II. And when you opened up, it was a big hardback book, huge book it was. And when you opened it up, the first picture you were greeted with was one of these things. Because obviously, from a European perspective, the war starts with the invasion of Poland. And So you greeted one of these. I've always wanted to make one of these. Never made one of these before. And this is the expert set. So you get some photo etch in here and 4 paint schemes. So I will be first impressioning this. I'm really excited to have a stab at that actually. There's 1 sprue of plastic parts in there, so there's not much to it. So it's not going to be a huge build even with the photo etch. So should be a lot of fun. So yeah, that might be something we shove into the fairly short order pipeline actually, because I want to get some volume out of smaller kits. So that might tick off getting some volume out, smaller quick build, and something a little bit different. You don't see many of those being built. Not that I've searched, but certainly don't pop up on my notifications. So yeah, so that was 2. Then I've added this. Now, when this first came out, I have some friends who are big into building their aeroplane models, and they were all over this like a rash. So if you remember when it came out, you could get it just as a kit, or you could get it with a bust. You know, I think it was 80 quid with the bust, or 50, 60 quid on its own. I seem to recall when it first came out, and because it was winged up wings, or the tooling was winged up wings, everyone was rushing out to get it, and then I just heard this massive wave of disappointment, of issues with warped parts, with sync, with, well, it's supposed to be winged up wings but it's not really, and all this sort of stuff. So I sort of stayed away from it. Because they're the experts in aircraft kits. I'm by no means an expert in aircraft kits. I've only been building aircraft for 3.5 years. So when everyone said it's pap, I just kept away from it. Then Nigel, my good friend Nigel at Nigel's Modelling Bench, chucks out a review of this on the back of his How Do You Buy Wingnut Wings Kits and Save Yourself Some Money video. So if you've not seen those videos, do go and catch them. He chucked out a review of this. Nothing wrong with it at all. Quite fine. So whether they've worked through those initial issues or whatever. So I've no idea if this is the first issue or not. All the tape that holds it down has perished and come off, but maybe someone's had a look in and checked the contents at some point. But I bought this from a model shop through eBay, and I got it for 34 quid and free shipping. So it was very hard to refuse. And Nigel pointed out you can get them on Amazon cheap. Well, I couldn't find them on Amazon cheap, but on eBay I did. It was the last one as well, so I felt really lucky. But yeah, essentially I've got a Wingnut Wings kit there at a bargain price, and a massive thank you to Nigel for pointing out it's not as bad as everyone said. And I've had a quick look in it, and it's all good. So that we'll do a first impressions of at some point, but we'll shove it back down the queue a little bit. I've got some other stuff to do first, because it's been done recently and it's probably been done to death over the years. So, but that's another thing in my stash. Now, I do have another kit coming today. So, I have another kit on the way, and there's a bit of a story behind that. So, a modelling acquaintance of mine, a chap called Jim Stein, recently passed away, and I knew him really through Ron Calvary of the model ship. He used to comment on the model ship a little bit, and we got chatting through the chat a little bit, and then he set up a Facebook page for 1-200 model shipbuilders. So he ran this page on Facebook. I became a member of that. Ron posts his episodes in there, and we got talking through there. So I knew Jim not for very long, but we chatted from time to time. We weren't constantly talking like I am with some people, but he knew the Scharnhorst was coming up, and he was looking forward to that, and he was working on the 1-200 Hood, which we were enjoying, and then he passed away. So I had decided that what I wanted to do when I launched the Scharnhorst build was the first episode, just dedicate the build to him and his passing, and we will post those updates in his Facebook page, which is still live and running. But then Jeff Donahue on his channel pointed out that Peter of Ozscale Modelling was intending to build this truck that Jim had started and not finished, and said, right, you know what, I'm going to build it so it got finished and do it in memory of Jim. Now, I'd missed that video that Peter had put out, so Jeff's then saying, well, I'm going to do the same. And he bought into the kit, and he said, if anyone else wants to build along, let's do that. Now, I'm behind with Jeff's videos at that point, so I hadn't seen that video until Nigel mentioned it on his channel and said, do you know what, I'm going to join in as well, because I knew Jim and talked to Jim, so I'm going to do this build. So that was 3 of them building a truck, and I thought, well, you know what, let's support that. So that's the kit. I'm expecting it to be delivered today, some point this afternoon. So when it turns up, we can start on that. So I'm joining that build with those guys. Jeff, at the point that I'm recording this, has got 3 episodes out on it. Peter is going to be showing progress in his live streams rather than doing it as a build. I'm not sure how Nigel's tackling it. I know he got his kit yesterday, I think. I ordered mine from Bovington Tank Museum, where it was on clearance, and got it for about 1/3 off. So and the money goes into helping the Tank Museum, so win-win. So that's being delivered today, and my intention is not to do a build diary of it as so much, but maybe put out a weekly update and just go, this is where I've got to this week. So it'll be a build that I do when I get an hour here or there, and on a Saturday morning I'll do that rather than doing my HMS Fly wooden ship build. So we'll pause that. We're getting through the second planking. We're nearly done with the second planking, but I want to get the truck done. I don't want to have too much to do, so something has to get parked. I don't want to try and juggle too much, because it'll only slow down the progress of the Gotha and the Queen Mary 2. So we'll fit it in around that. So inevitably it'll impact on a little bit of output, but not massively. It's not a massively over complex kit. I'm not gonna go to town with weathering. I'm just gonna build it and go, this was for you, Jim, sort of thing. So that's coming today. That'll be it won't be added to the stash, because it'll come straight to the bench, and we'll get going on it. So when the live stream, when my premiere goes out tonight at the Gotha, I'll be cleaning up parts on that, no doubt. So that's where we are with my stash ads. So what happened on the Workbench this week? Well, what happened you can see here. Obviously I concentrated pretty much the last 2 weekends on building that. We did a little bit of it in the week. It's come together really well. Part 2 of this build will be out next Friday. I'm still editing that, so exactly what happens in that video I don't know yet. I don't know how far I can get. I suspect this will be 3 videos in total. But yeah, it's come together really nicely. There's 1 or 2 little tiny niggles with it. The most important one, if you're going to be building it right now straight out of the box, is actually these front little plates here. The anti-ditching plates. So what they've done is they've had a good idea but not fully thought it through. So to avoid it being a thick bit of plastic on the front, because it's 2 plates on top of each other, they've offset the top one so that you can see that the it's two different plates, and that gives you the impression of them being a lot thinner. Brilliant idea. But unfortunately, they made it shorter on made the top plate shorter on both sides, whereas the top plate would be longer and the bottom one would be shorter if they were slightly overlapping. So great idea, didn't quite fully work it through. That is my only criticism of this this model. There's other bits and pieces, like we don't have an engine and we don't have all the interior, but no doubt that's to hit the price point, and it's £24, and no doubt you'll be able to pick it up for about 20 quid. And for 20 quid, it's a lot of model and it looks really good. So I'm really pleased with it. I think Airfix have done a spectacular job of it all in all. It really does look the part. Very happy with it. And I think in its white UN markings livery, it looks fantastic. So yeah, really happy with it. And then as soon as we'd finished that, I'm going to just get her out of the way. We hopped back onto this. So we finished painting the floats and sealed them up and what have you, and then we've installed them, which was interesting because you've got multiple spars going into the same hole. The fit is a little bit tight, and then you've got to wriggle them around, and the instructions have you glue them into there and then fit them into the wings. And I thought, absolutely no way. So I actually dry fitted them into there and then turned them upside down and put them in, and glued them into the wings first, and then you'll see all this in the video. So that's where I've got to on so far, a couple of evenings this week just doing that. So let's talk about what's left to do on the Gotha. Because this weekend I'll be working on the Gotha. I don't think I'll finish her, but I'm going to try and get her as close to finished as I possibly can. So we've got there's a little bit of rigging left to do on the wings, where I've managed to snap them or pull the eye out. So I've got a little bit of I think I've got 3 left to do. I've got rigging to do around this area here, so we haven't touched that yet. There's a little bit of rigging to do on the back of the wing, which we can't do until the fuselage on, and then there's some rigging that's already installed which connects to the fuselage, which needs to be done. We've got to clear coat the fuselage, install the clear parts, install it into there, put the gun and gun ring on the back, install the proboscis for the bombs at the front, touch up, paint the propellers, put the decals on the propellers, put the propellers on the engines, and then we are done. So whether I can get all that done Sunday morning, I don't know, because Saturday I'll be working on the GMC truck. It's probably unlikely I'll get it all done, just because of how time consuming the rigging will be, and I need a drying time. So what I possibly will do is put the rigging hooks in underneath that are needed. So I've got to drill some holes in the stanchions at the base and install those, and then while that's drying, install the fuselage, and then I should be able to go back to rigging. The problem is, until I dry fit the fuselage, I don't know if I can turn this over to do the rigging or not. I suspect not. So I want to get the underneath rigged before the fuselage goes on, because at the moment I can flop this upside down, rest it on my sponge block and work away on it. Whereas it'd be just very, very difficult to work with it the right way up. With all the rigging we've got to do underneath. So yeah, I think it's really the time it's going to take to sort the rigging that's going to prevent me from finishing it. But we'll be very close, and if I am very close, we'll perhaps finish it during the week next week, and then I'm only doing the GMC truck and Queen Mary 2 until Queen Mary 2 is finished. and that will be my priority, because I want to get the Scharnhorst out during this winter. And actually, there's not as much to do on the Queen Mary as I might think. But again, my problem is having video material. So yeah, we will see how it all pans out. But she looks splendid, and she's a good old size. Yeah, very, very nice. I'm really pleased with this. This is very fastly becoming my becoming my favourite build. Or certainly definitely my favourite aircraft build, but possibly my favourite model build ever to date. So yeah, anyway, that's where we are with that. So what is coming up in the week ahead? So next week we're going to kick off with more HMS Victory. We're going to have a look at the aftermarket that's available for it, or some of it, not all of it. So we'll go through that on Monday. Interesting little video. If you're interested in building that kit, it gives you some insights into what you can get, what's out there. Some of it corrects some of the things we pointed out while doing the first impressions videos. Then on Wednesday, we have the first impressions of Le Soleil Royal from Hella 1 to 100 scale. We've shown it briefly in Table Talk. It's a huge kit. The first impressions, it's all in one first impressions, but it's about an hour and a quarter, I think. Yeah, really interesting, because as you know, I'd been after that kit for 40 years, so I pored over the plastic with a lot of interest. Beautiful. I'll be interested to see what people think of the kit, and how many people think, actually, I'd like to build that. Then Fridays will be Ferret number 2, Friday's build video, and we should get the body built up, the turret built up, and move it towards masking and priming and painting, I would think. But like I say, I've not finished editing it, so I don't know for sure. Yeah, so that's what's coming up in the week ahead. So garden. This year, this winter season, we're going to be doing some changes to the garden. We've got quite a big project that I've broken down into stages, and actually stage 1 we started this week. So we've had a new downpipe put in from the gutter. That's important because I didn't have a downpipe before, and what it's going to do is two things. Firstly, it's going to stop blocked up gutters either side of us causing us problems with water. So what we will do is we will now have that water going down the downpipe. We keep our gutters clear, so we should have free running water and no issues with water backing up and spilling out, which we've had previously. But it also means I can now install a water butt, which is going to do two things. It's going to reduce my water bill because I'm on a meter, and it's also going to allow me to capture rainwater and use that for watering the garden. So environmental and cost saving for me. So perfect. So the next stage will be installing the water butt, which goes in the back corner next to one of the vegetable troughs. Then the next stage is we want to replace all of our wooden planters, which I built out of wooden fence posts, which are all treated and that sort of stuff, and had a 20-year guarantee. And we are now 6 years since I did landscape the garden. And you guys probably don't know this, I've probably never mentioned this, but I actually did qualify as a garden designer with the intention of becoming a garden designer at one point, but never actually did anything with it. So when I did my back garden, I had a slightly different vision to what you've seen previously, because Paula wanted it more angular. I was going to have sweeping curves and anyway, so we did it more angular. We're going to keep the angles because that's Paula likes her symmetry and what have you. But I'm going to swap out the wood that is now starting to rot, and we're going to replace it with, I'm going to show you the product. So I'm going to replace the wood with this stuff. It's composite. It's really rigid, you can see there. So this is a fencing panel product, and it comes in big long lengths. This is just a sample. Tongue and groove, which is really nice. So you get some posts, you fit it in, slide it down. They stack on top of each other, so there's no nailing, screwing or anything like that. You have an aluminium strip that goes at the bottom, and then you put a cap on it. So we're going to use that for our planters, the fencing strip, and then they do a decking one as well, which has got grooves in and has wood effects on, and I'm going to put some steps in because we've got quite a steep, nearly 3 foot drop at the back of the garden for a strip that's about so wide, right at the back where the new fence is. So I want to put some steps in, so I'll put some steps in as well. But this should see me out. That should do me for the rest of the time we're here. So that's the plan. It's quite a major operation because one of my planters is over 2 foot high. So we've got to take that all out, including against the fence. So I actually have to move the plants. So that'll be a major operation. Install this, backfill it all. There's 1 or 2 plants I want to move. We don't want to damage the roots, so we don't want to do it when it's too cold. So it's really an autumn-ish project or an early spring project. But this weekend I'll be doing the measurements for that. So that's what's happening in the garden. And we've got clean up that we're going to have to do in a week or 2. Last of my tomatoes have come in to ripen on the window ledge. Be getting the last of the rhubarb soon. I've still got 1 or 2 flowers out though, so but it's bucketing down out there right now, so I am not going out in the rain to show you guys. But that's where we're up to with the garden. Now, the keen-eyed amongst you will have noticed that the organisation of the modelling desk has changed. Let's not drop this. Let me just move the Gotha out of the way. There you go. It's near my feet, so I can stand on it instead. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a change on the modelling bed, and the reason is we're getting ready for the Scharnhorst. So I need a space for the Scharnhorst to go along there, and you can see here these blue boxes. That's all the Scharnhorst parts. So we've taken it out of the big kit box that it comes in. So I've got all the Scharnhorst parts there, all the aftermarket stuff's in there as well, my wooden decks on top, my 2 sets of instructions, and then my anatomy of the ship book, which I've managed to drop and have broken the spine so it all falls apart, which is annoying, but there you go. So yeah, the kit condenses down quite nicely, and the aftermarket's popped into some of the spaces in the boxes. So everything's there. You can see on the labels, it's marked up with what sprues are in there. So the top box has sprue F, W, the 4-deck, Q and S, 3D parts, resin parts, and then sprues T3, T2, T1 and T4. So really easy for me to navigate from here, see where I need to be. So that's really helpful. To be able to do that, I've had to move some things around and condense the space. So this is my build tray for the Gotha at the moment. So that moves out of the way and I've got a space for parts there. Now I've also ordered a jig. Some of you will remember I reviewed a wooden jig a little while ago for 350 scale ships, and it was utterly dreadful. It was totally dreadful and it needed re-engineering. I think we're probably going to re-engineer it through a recycling machine and get rid of it, because I've bought 2 new ones. Really expensive, but really good quality. I mean, they're not expensive in the sense that you've got them and they're going to last probably forever, and therefore they're really good value for money. But the initial outlay is quite a lot, you know. But you get what you pay for, and I bought cheap, and it was naff, absolutely naff. And if you've not seen that review, it's worth watching it just for how funny it is. They've designed it so you can't actually put it together, let alone put a ship on it. Really funny, and they're still selling it. I noticed it's still on sale, and it's auto junk. But I've got two build jigs coming, one for 1/200 scale and one for 1/350 scale. So when they come, probably in 3 or so weeks, we'll be able to review them. I'll have the 1/200 one in time for starting the Scharnhorst build. So looking forward to that. So that's something else we've done, quite an outlay. But as I build a lot of ships, it's worth it, and certainly would have been helpful to have it for the Queen Mary too. So I'm looking forward to getting those. So yeah, and I think that might cover it for this week. Oh no, I have some other stuff on order. I ordered some bits and pieces from Premium Hobbies in August. Unfortunately, the Royal Mail has managed to lose them, and I was talking to Premium Hobbies, and they've sent out replacements, so they should turn up. So I've got one of their products that we'll review on the channel and talk about, but that also is being bought with the intention of using them for the Scharnhorst build. So I've got some new sanding sticks and bits and pieces, but we'll talk about all of that when it comes. So yeah, and I keep saying that's it. I've got everything for the Scharnhorst, and then I think of something else I can get. Oh, a building jig. So yeah, I'm still very excited to get into the Scharnhorst. It's staring at me all day, every day now, because when I'm working, as you can see my monitor, I'm facing this direction. You can see this is where my works computer sits, and you can see my keyboard. So I actually work here like that with my back to you, and then I model there. So all day long, Scharnhorst is, I'm here. So we need to get that going. Right, that is definitely everything, I think, for this week. So thank you very much for looking in. If you want to support the channel, then please hit like, share it with your friends, leave a comment below. It's always nice to see the comments and talk to everyone and see what people are up to. Oh, there is one more thing I wanted to say. We are nearly at the end of September, so you now have, all of you subscribers now have less than 3 months to finish the builds that you want to put into this year's subscriber showcase. So for those of you new to the channel, what I do at the end of the year, we did it last year, it was a real success, is you subscribers, you send me 1 or 2 pictures of builds that you've completed during the course of the year that you'd like to share with everyone else, because you know, people talk to each other through the premieres and through the comments, and I string all of those pictures together in a video and share what people have been working on, their best build of the year, things they've enjoyed, something that's a bit different, whatever it is. So start thinking about it. I don't want you to send me anything just yet, otherwise I'll forget that it's there and it won't get included. I'll tell you when, but start thinking about what you want it to be in the showcase, or start putting your foot on the gas to get a model build finished so it can go in the showcase. So just putting that in your heads. Right, that is definitely it. So thank you very much. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video, and if you want to support the channel, you can hit super thanks and give $1 or $2. And there's also items in the merchandise store which focus on both the Table Talk videos and the model kit stuff channel as a whole. Lots of things in there. Right, thank you very much. You enjoy your modelling. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.